is that when we feel our emotions openly, feeling like a child does, just
Yes.
natural, you know, our cell receptors remain open. And so, more than any other time in history, it is time that part of our spiritual invitation is that we begin to welcome our emotions.
Welcome everybody that has tuned in. I know that it's going to take a few minutes for everybody to actually join in live, but today is Thrive in Spirit. And usually I'd actually put Brandon Bays in healing and health, but I also think there's a deep, deep spiritual side to her work. And so there's an overlap here today. And that's why I've put her in on a Wednesday, and perhaps she'll be gracious enough to come to us again on one of the other days. But I want to, for now, just welcome with such a warm, loving heart, Brandon Bays. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. It is such an honor and a privilege.
Well, I feel the same way, and I'm so thrilled to be connecting with everyone in South Africa. And it's been a while since I've been there, and we have so many beautiful journey beloveds there and practitioners there and who've been through the work that I do. And I feel this deep soul connection actually with South Africa. It's the first time I put my feet on the ground there, I just felt, whoa, there is some pulsating energy here that speaks and sings to my soul. So I'm thrilled to be on your show, and thrilled during this time that technology is at a place where, my God, if this pandemic had happened 20 years ago, all of us would have been in this extreme lockdown without any way of really connecting. And right now, it feels as if all of life has made a huge invitation to all of us to become still and to calm the hustle bustle and the crazy busyness of life, and to go within and focus on what really matters in life, our loved ones and the love we share, and our own health, and nourishing ourselves and nourishing our loved ones, and focusing on what's real in life. And so I do feel, as you said, this is a spiritual show. And yet I feel that life has made quite a powerful invitation to all of us to take this time in hibernation, like nature does, and in incubation, so that it can be a time of giving birth to a new way forward, really, for ourselves, for our life, for our planet. So I'm just so grateful that we're able to connect in this way, and that you're doing this service during this time when we all need this connection.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things, Brandon, that you've said there that just so resonate with me. First of all, if we lived in any other time, and epidemics like this have happened through history, but we are lucky enough to live in this time where, and I feel that it has come about because it wants to deepen connection and the connection with ourselves and with each other and with our world and with our universe and with all that is God, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, whatever anybody wants to call source. I believe it has come at this time. And so there's this absolutely, like you say, beautiful invitation to go inwards and connect with ourselves, but also this profound ability to connect with more people than we've ever been able to connect with before while in confinement. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I did a global prayer the other day that was on Facebook Live, and it ended up, we were joined by 47,000 people in this big prayer. And I put another thing up on about Einstein and his belief that we're now in a time where we're able to connect at this deeper level. And, 110,000 people are watching that and sharing that. And you're right, it's a time for really this global connection of humanity. And what struck me as so strong is it doesn't matter our caste, our color of our skin, our what we do in life. It matters not at all that the coronavirus is a neutral thing that's striking all. And we are in this together as humanity. We've had to be together. Countries, being together with countries that are normally politically not able to communicate and connect properly. And so, yeah, it's a time where a big invitation is being made to all of humanity. And I can remember the first time I saw the coronavirus, maps, the tracking maps around the world.
Yeah.
And I had read an article about this one man who got coronavirus in Ischgl, a tiny ski resort in Austria. And from there, it went to 40 different countries. And it made me see how small our world is and how interconnected we really are. And I know this very well because with the journey, I traveled to 39 countries in the world, and I'm always on world tour. And so but seeing it laid out, I see it as almost like threads of connection. And it's such a beautiful invitation, really.
Absolutely. You say I spoke at the, which you did as well, at the Real Connection Summit 2 weekends ago, a week and a half ago. And that was one of the things that I said that, I saw somebody wrote on a piece of paper. I don't know if you saw it, Brandon, but they put on a post this wonderful show of love that people are now doing because they have to go inside and just stop. But I don't think we've ever lived in a time, like you're saying, we've ever lived in a time where a greater show of love, compassion, and care has been shown and experienced in the whole world throughout the planet, because going inside and social distancing is not necessarily to look after ourselves. It's a show of care for everyone around us. And that energy is just incredible. It's profound.
It's the first time because usually my whole spring tour was completely canceled. And every week I was going to a different country to work. And what this has allowed me this time, because I've been in police enforced lockdown for over 4 weeks, where in order to leave the house, we have to have a special code from the police. And, the first day that we did that, code, and Gabby and I went down to the water and just to the sea, because we're in Greece here. And the sirens started for a walk, and the sirens started blaring, stop walking, what are you doing? Turn your camera off. And we said, well, we have a code here on our phone. He said, well, you're not allowed to, with that code, that's a supermarket code. You're not allowed to go walking with a supermarket code. And he said, not only that, but even if you get the walking code, where do you live? And we said, well, up the hill, 1.7 kilometers. He said, well, you can't drive to a location to walk. You have to walk from your house. And so we had to get back in the car, drive up to our house, get an SMS communication that we were allowed to walk from our house. So what the good news is of this very police enforced lockdown that we're in, it's really quarantine, it's not even lockdown, is that it's allowed me to every day, I post a video addressing the issues that people are facing, to dealing with their fears and with their inability. Like, a friend of mine, she has her parents have underlying health issues. They're in Britain right now, where coronavirus is very big, and she can't. She's in lockdown in Spain, and the fear that she's in and the devastation. And so every day I've been posting videos where people can undergo process work and really come to a place of peace inside and wholeness inside. And other days I'm posting videos on how to strengthen your immune system and how to do movement if you're in lockdown like we are, where you're not really even supposed to leave the house. Well, what kind of movement gets your body and your
Yeah.
lymphatic systems going, and doing yoga and breathing and so every day, as you say, it's an outreach and an outpouring of love from all of us. And my prayer is that, hundreds of thousands of people can use this work during lockdown to come to a place of peace and wholeness. And, we even put on our teacher who does the work for all the kids, from young kids to teenagers to young adults. She does journey work for the kids, and we posted a video for work for children and another video for working with your children in lockdown and homeschooling. And so, yes, it's been a time for, at least I'm sure in your world and definitely in mine, of digging deep within and listening every day to what the need of humanity is, the call is, what we're facing every different moment, and just offering work to find wholeness even in this wild time that we're living in. And I know you're doing the same, both with your health and healing show and also with this spiritual show. And I think it's pulling the best from all of us. It's pulling out the best from all of us who feel we have something to offer and want to use this time wisely and well.
Brandon, I couldn't agree with you more. And I feel like it's allowed people to accelerate on their actual true life's path if they are open to it. I know that for me, I've been wanting to start this platform, Thrive, for a long time, and I haven't found the names. And then all of a sudden it came, and it's because I don't know if you know, but I almost died 6 years ago. I went through a very similar healing journey to what you went through, actually. When you before you wrote the journey, before you created the process of the journey, and doctors didn't think I would live, and I went through a profound healing experience, and there were so many things that without a doubt contributed to my healing. But I made a promise during that time. I surrendered and I said, if it is my time to die, then I will accept that. But if there's any way that I am allowed to stay, I promise that I will make it worthwhile. And I have known that I needed to share what I learned on that healing journey with the world. And I kind of dipped in and out of it and doubted my own message and my own value that I can bring so many times. And it's almost like the universe has created this space now for me to go, okay, I'm not allowed to play small anymore. I need to reach out. I need to connect to the people who were profoundly linked to my healing, which you were one of them. I read your book way before anything ever happened to me from a health perspective, but my mom's best friend passed away from cancer. And I remember when she started, when the cancer began, we read The Journey, all of us. I mean, I was a teenager, but we read The Journey. And I always say that a miracle is just a change in understanding, a change in perception. But reading The Journey was a miracle for me, because I realized that we can heal beyond what we are told is possible, within our current medical systems. And that little miracle stayed in my mind and served me years later when I was faced with my own mortality, when I was faced with my own death. And I could go, but remember that it's possible. just because
Yeah.
everybody doesn't know what's going on, just because it's hasn't been seen that you can heal from the state that you're in before, it doesn't mean it's not possible. And so my mission with Thrive is to plant as many miracles in people's minds as possible by speaking to the great teachers and the great healers and of this world that have assisted me somewhere along the line. So firstly, thank you for writing that book, for sharing your story, because it profoundly has impacted my life. And I know that it has profoundly impacted so many other lives as well. There's a very famous comedian. He's the godfather of underground in South Africa, John Vlismus, and he was an addict. And before he went to rehab, he went and did the journey work. And he has been clean now for 15 years. And when I told him I was going to interview you, he said, please thank Brandon, because I definitely think that the journey was instrumental in me being clean for all of these years. So it can be used for so many different things. And I just wanted to put in context for you, because I haven't actually done that, and for the audience, why I wanted to bring you to my audience. It's because of that. So thank you.
Well, I'm so thrilled to hear about this comedian, and when you speak to him, please pass him my love and blessings. And I was just reminded as you were talking, there were 38 medical doctors who came from Durban, and many of them had were part of an addiction center. And the case that these medical doctors put in, I had the Journey Practitioners Program, and the case studies that were put in were all about the addiction and how they use the journey to work with people with addiction. So they had to, I think they did 43 case studies, each of the doctors, on using the journey method and helping people get to the emotional root cause of what had driven them to reach for the drug or for the chemical substance or whatever it was that they were reaching for. And so I'm wondering if maybe he saw one of the doctors who actually was working in that in Durban. Yeah.
I'll ask him.
Yeah. So it's been so such a profoundly blessed time in the healing and health industry, and I'm working with medical doctors these days who practice integrative medicine, and I'm on the board of directors on 2 different hospitals in Israel, and one is for system, the cancer floor, and the other one is for heart disease. And after they've performed their operations, the patients actually go into a week-long recovery center where they're getting regular journey work to get to the emotional corollary of what has co-created the illness. And they find that the patients are healing so much faster. And I just feel like we're living in such a conscious and an enlightened time. And when I was last in Israel, there were 68 oncologists who'd flown in from around the world, and I was the keynote speaker to speak to them about the emotional corollary to our physical illness and disease and the science of that. And so it seems like everything's coming together these days. And
that is so exciting to hear. I can't tell you how excited I am to hear that, because like you, I know that it's not one thing that heals you. It's a combination of things that actually assist you on your healing journey. And the fact that medical doctors are opening up to this work, to energy work, to emotional work, all of that, and realizing that we are mind, body, and spirit, and it is all connected, is just so exciting for me.
Yes, it is exciting. Yeah, I was just called by the director of the hospital yesterday, and And then we're going to be doing a worldwide global conference with the medical field around the world. And I'll be on the board of directors for that, addressing the emotional aspect of illness. And, it's interesting. Everybody's aware of the CDC now, the Center for Disease Control, because that's all you read about in the news, that and the World Health Organization, WHO. And on the Center for Disease Control's website, it actually says that 85% of all illness has an emotional basis.
Ha.
So, yeah.
That is brilliant, Brandon.
Yes, it's brilliant. And so there is a way in which I feel that this time in the corona pandemic is a time where we're also being invited to go inside and welcome the emotions that are here. And unfortunately, so much of what I'm hearing, Susanna, is that people are going into their homes and feeling trapped. Their emotions are getting pent up, shut down, and blocked. And it's such a detrimental thing to do during a pandemic, because what science has found is when you feel a strong emotion and you shut it down, it releases a biochemistry that goes into the bloodstream and will block our cell receptors, rendering our cells incapable of communicating with the cells in the body. And if over time illness happens, it happens where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what they know to be true is that when we feel our emotions openly, feeling like a child does, just natural, our cell receptors remain open. And so more than any other time in history, it is time that part of our spiritual invitation is that we begin to welcome our emotions, to allow them to be felt. It's not that we project them on someone else and blame someone else for what we're feeling, but when a strong emotion comes, to just open our hearts and embrace it and allow it to be felt. And if you really open, you will go deeper into that emotion, into deeper and deeper layers of the emotion. And eventually you will end up opening into your own soul, into a vast, boundless presence of love that is omnipresent, that's pervading all of existence. And it's at that deepest level, at the level of the soul, that all the healing takes place. It happens at the level of the infinite intelligence. And so it's really an invitation not only to become still and stop all the hustle bustle and turn within, but I feel this time is an invitation to come home, to who we really are, to come home and be at home in our own skin, and to welcome all the emotions that are here. Most of us are phobic of feeling our emotions, And so, we feel an emotion
as much as possible. It's like,
or get on Facebook, get on Netflix, and it's like anything but allow an emotion to come up. And this is not the time that we can afford to play that game. We can't go into distraction or denial or running from. But most of us have learned we're fearful of feeling. And so part of the spiritual invitation that I feel that life is making to all of us is to learn to befriend our bodies, to befriend our hearts, and to befriend our emotions. And if we really do, instead of the emotions taking us out of control, the emotions will become the gateway to our souls, to the love inside and the peace that's here. And you can start living from a wordless guidance from the heart, sort of a silent guidance that feels true and right, where you feel at home in your own skin. But if you're denying emotions or running from them or smoking them away or drinking them away or shutting them down, It's for me, there's so much fear. I invite people to write to me what they're experiencing here. And,
Yeah.
so much fear is happening, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And I always say to people that fear is like a tiger and it will hunt you down. And the only option you can do is turn and open and face and offer yourself into the tiger's mouth of fear and really let it devour you. And if you really do, you will find the liberation, the freedom, the awakening that is there inside of you, this divine potential that lives in all of us. And so this is why I'm doing so many videos, all of them for free, to give different processes for people to learn step by step how to befriend their emotions, how to uncover the cell memories, how to open into the truth, into their souls, how to come home to a sense of well-being inside in a direct and practical way, not as like, oh, that's a pretty notion,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
as a direct living experience.
Absolutely. You know, so much of what you're saying are things that are being echoed by so many spiritual teachers, so many beings of light at the moment on the planet. One of the things that has been coming up over and over again is working with your wounding, working with what are those trigger points that take us out of ourselves and don't allow us to actually be in ourselves and be centered. And I remember when I started doing this work, and I did exactly what you're talking about. I distracted and distracted and distracted because I didn't want to have to face this feeling of pain that was existing in me, because it was so painful. I didn't know if I could actually digest it.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment that I actually stood still and allowed myself just to feel, just to literally feel into that pain, and the immense magnitude of that and the immense catharsis that came after that. And so I think that that's something so important for everyone that is listening. It's always scary until you begin. Nelson Mandela said that. So many people that are these great thought leaders, these great teachers in life tell you that, of course, it's scary, but it's scary until you start. And it might be painful, but it's okay, because you will move through that pain. Eckhart Tolle says the only way to get rid of pain is to go through it. So many people. And so I invite you guys to go into whatever it is that is triggering you. I always say it's like having a splinter in your toe and bumping it on every edge of a table. The universe will always bring what needs to be healed to you. And I agree with you. I think that right now is that time to see what is bumping you. What are these things that we are trying to avoid? Switch off the TV. Stop smoking those cigarettes, stop drinking. I know so many people are escaping by, and I'm not opposed to a good glass of wine every once in a while, so don't think that I am, but I'm saying so many people are literally like just drinking every day and just still avoiding that time of coming into themselves. So Brandon, I'm definitely going to share a link with everyone that is watching to join your community so that they can be watching these daily videos, because I think it's so important. And I also think maybe if you could share one practical thing, something that has possibly been coming up for you now during this time a lot, that people can look at. Oh my goodness, it's 11 o'clock. Brandon, I have to tell you something. At 11 o'clock every day, I'm going outside and howling 3 times, because it is the one time that the most people are awake in the whole world. So bear with me for 5
then.
because we're shouting for everyone that's helping us, and you guys who are watching know that this is true, and I hope that you guys are doing the same. So let's go outside and howl and say thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Different people are doing it at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and different times of the day, you know, in their different countries. But I just thought, how wonderful would it be if the most amount of people that are awake at one time could do it at that same time. And so I know that it's 11 o'clock.
This is the first time hearing it howling. You know, I'm from New York City, and there's a set time that they all clap and thank, and they actually sing songs to the health workers. They go out in the streets or onto their balconies and play music, and everybody comes together and claps. They do the same thing in Britain, and where I have been living for the last 25 years. And it is a beautiful thing, but only in South Africa would you also howl.
You know, I think I came up with the howl because of the woman who ran with the wolves, the wild woman, you know, and that connection to our deep self, you know, and just that like release. And so I think that's where I came up with the howl. But they're doing it here as well, you know, they're singing and they're clapping, and I do that every night at 8 o'clock in Cape Town. It's 8 o'clock at night. In Johannesburg, they're doing it at 7 o'clock in some areas, 8 o'clock in others. But I just thought if I go out and I howl 3 times and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, and then come back inside, it would be a good thing too. Oh, anyway, okay. So sorry about that. I do that every morning.
That's wonderful. You know, I've found that for myself, every day I find that tears of gratitude are here. You know, that these are wild times. These are unprecedented times. It's a real stretch for humanity. And yet I'm aware of how blessed I am. I'm aware of the beauty of nature and how it's getting more and more beautiful now that the skies are clear, and animals coming out from the wild and into the streets, and that I was in India at the time that Greece went into lockdown, and I had just given a 10-day program in Tiruvannamalai and in the south of India. And then I was going on to Goa to give an 8-day journey practitioners training program. And I ended up being in a hotel where they had air conditioning on, where it had chemicals in it. And I got a cold. Now, this is during the time that it was all over the news that coronavirus was happening. And then legally, I was not allowed to be on stage, because even if you were exhibiting symptoms of a cold, from the air conditioning, I knew that. But for the first time in 26 years, I had to abort a seminar. And I had thankfully had videos of it. And I let our presenter, Dr. Rangana Chowdhury, who is an oncologist and who's a presenter for us in India, she was then able to run the program with videos of me teaching. But it meant that I had to get on that plane that night and fly back to Greece, where it was our summer home, you know, and we got here, and 2 days later, we went into lockdown, this police enforced lockdown that I talked about.
Yes.
And my husband and Gabby's husband flew in hours before we went into lockdown. And it was just the synchronous thing that took place, that life conspired to give me a cold to not attend an event for the first time in 26 years, even though I give them every single week. I teach 44 weeks out of the year. That I would get back before this country closed its doors. And that I'm able to be with my husband and with my soul family here. And I just pinch myself every day and think how blessed I am. And I take time to not just nourish myself in my own spiritual life and take walks and, you know, do my yoga and meditation and pray, but I take time every day to just count my blessings, just to thank God that I do have a roof over my head during this time, that I made it back. I mean, those who were my staff who were still carried on with the seminar there, one of our staff members tried to get back to Britain, and the night that my flight and his flight was supposed to take us back through Qatar, that's when India went into lockdown.
Sure.
And he got home on Friday, this last Friday.
Sure.
And I have been here for 4.5 weeks. It's how long they put him on an RAF repatriation flight a month after he was supposed to be home.
Sure.
And so I am aware, when I hear all the stories and am connecting as I am with you and with your beloveds and with the extended family that we all are as humanity, of just how blessed we are, that we've got a roof over our heads, we've got loved ones, even if it's just over Skype or Zoom or Facebook Live to share with. I had to have my husband cut my hair.
Well, I'm busy having that conversation with my boyfriend because he's starting to look like Ace Ventura. And he's like, I don't know what to do.
Tutorial online. And then I thought, this is not a tutorial, by the way.
But haven't you found though, Brandon, like on that note, you saying like, because that's something that I've said so many times, that I'm very aware, and I've repeated it, of the blessing that I have to be in the position that I am in during this lockdown. I'm grateful for it every day. Everyone knows I practice gratitude on a daily basis. And that is one thing that I without a doubt say thank you for every day, that I'm in a beautiful home with the man that I love, during this time. And that we have space to not be on top of each other during this time, that there's enough space in the home for us to come together, but also be apart within the space, because I know that a lot of people are battling with that as well. So I'm very aware of the privileged position that I am in, and that a lot of people are not in that privileged position. And maybe that's something we can talk about, because I think it's very relevant, specifically in South Africa. Brandon, I'm not sure if you know, but we have one of the highest abuse rates in the world, and domestic violence. It's really sad for me. It breaks my heart. But 60% of sexual violence, sexual misconduct is done by someone or somebody that your family knows. And I heard a statistic the other day, which just broke my heart, that South Africa has the highest recorded cases at the moment, because people are locked in with their abusers. And I don't know if there's something that maybe, because I don't know what to say really to those people that are in those situations right now. I saw a beautiful call to action on Instagram the other day, that if anybody is in trouble and needs help, send me a message and ask for something random like spinach, and I'll know that you're in trouble and I can call someone to help you. But for those people who are in those kind of circumstances at this time, is there anything that you could maybe share with them?
With the Journey Practitioner training, we do work specifically with this very topic. And indeed, in Australia, they are the second nation that has the largest amount of domestic violence, and the increase now during lockdown is just like South Africa. And unfortunately, my belief around domestic abuse and violence is that we need to extricate ourselves from those circumstances, because there's an addictive pattern with the abuser, and also an addictive pattern with the one being abused, that they've accepted and allowed that in their life. And so I think following these abuse helplines during this time is the only thing I could suggest. And then after that, getting some very deep and clearing journey work with a journey practitioner there in South Africa. There are loads of them. And they can help people get to the emotional trauma of it and go through. I mean, we have trauma release programs. We have all kinds of work that we do with this whole issue. And it sounds like you've got a pandemic of abuse happening. And I wish that I could suggest anything other than the reality, because I experienced, if you know from reading my book, both sexual abuse, physical abuse, violent abuse. We had the police at our house, growing up, where even after my dad took his own life when I was 18 years old, I went back to university and was raped a week later. And so I'm very familiar with this whole area and feel a depth of empathy and compassion. And then there's the reality of you need to reach out to those people who can give help and connect you with agencies that can help your situation specifically. But it has to start first by extricating yourself from that situation. And I'm sure the abuse helplines have the ability to do that even during lockdown. Yeah. And then after that, it's a rehabilitation process, both for the abuser and for the one being abused. And because if there's an adult and they're in that situation, depending on the kind of abuse, if they're being overpowered, that's a situation that they need to get out of. And now, if they are creating the situation by allowing the unacceptable and the unallowable, then that's where both parties need to get apart and get help, because they're both ill. They're emotionally addicted to a very unhealthy pattern. And so this is the best that I could say, and is to get out and get help.
Yeah.
There's tremendous help available in this area. And I'm sure also, where are you? Are you in Joburg or in Cape Town?
I'm in Cape Town. And what I was abused when I was little. And then I also had, because it's a patterning, once you're in that abusive pattern, and so many people don't understand this, you start attracting that into your life until you break the cycle of that pattern. Yeah. And so I so understand where you're coming from, because I have such a similar story again, and I'm sure so many people out there have a similar story, and that's why it's important to share this so that you're not alone. I was also abused when I was little, and then I was sexually assaulted twice again afterwards, and so I completely understand this, but it's a patterning. And I think that's very important for everyone out there who's listening to pay attention to what Brandon said there, is that you've got to break the patterning. And the only way to do that is to step out of it. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer to step out of it. Sometimes your mind steps out of it, or your heart steps out of it before you are physically able to step out of it. But it's starting that process of unentanglement with that pattern. And there are a lot of things available. But I think that one of the reasons, and I might be totally wrong, but I feel that possibly one of the reasons why this is also being exacerbated at this time is that wounds are coming up for healing. And when individuals that don't know how to handle their own wounds experience that, they lash out. Have you felt that is something you've been hearing or feeling as well?
I just did a video on feeling pent up, locked in, and the triggers and what's happening as a result. And all of these triggers, are invitations. And I really, really strongly recommend, you can get on my website, thejourney.com, and we will give you the download of the Journey book for free. And then you can get the
Amazing.
yes. And not only that, but you can, if you can't afford to, let's say, get the book and get the processes, you can then get onto a different part of the website and get the processes that are the most recent versions of the Journey processes. And I've written 6 books, but the Journey was the original book that everybody's so familiar with, that went viral, 20 years ago or 25 years ago. And anyway, it's I want people to have access to these tools. And on our website, you can also subscribe to be part of this, so that every single day in your inbox, you can get the video from me, which has the meditations, and you can not only get onto the landing page, but you can click on, and I've done 24 videos so far.
Amazing.
All free of charge, actual practical work to deal with this. So, and on our website, thejourney.com, and I'm sure there's a Journey South Africa. We have beautiful Lydia and John there, who are the organizers for the Journey South Africa. And they are able to point you in the direction. So there's probably a Journey SA.com. I don't know, because we're in 39 countries. So I don't know everybody's journey.com, website, but for sure they can point you in the direction of really excellent Journey practitioners. I one time had a psychiatrist go through. I don't just teach medical doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists. I want you to know I teach people from all walks of life. But there was a psychiatrist who went through and said they had to complete more case studies through the Journey training than they did having to become a psychiatrist.
You broke up there for a second, Brandon. So sorry, can you just repeat that again? Because you disappeared, and I have a feeling it was important.
Well, I said it's not just medical doctors that we work with the Journey and train. We also train psychologists, psychiatrists, people from all walks of life, really. Mm-hmm. And there was this one psychiatrist, and he said that in the getting the doctorate degree in psychiatry, he had to complete fewer case studies than he did with the Journey. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is a very in-depth, comprehensive program. And the Journey practitioners that are there in South Africa, they have completed all the case studies and finished with them. And they are skilled, they are experienced, and they are absolutely willing to support, especially during this time. And so if you get onto the Journey South Africa, I am sure that you'll be able to find a psychiatrist, a Journey practitioner near you who can support you during this time. And you do Journey work on Skype, on Zoom. You don't have to be in person, although I like to be in person to teach my events. I've had to really stretch myself to make the Journey available virtually, because there is a magic that happens one-to-one. And yet we're seeing right now that here we are on Zoom, and yet there's still a deep connection with us and a deep meeting of hearts. And this can happen with a Journey process. I just really want people to get these tools, which all of us need during this time.
Absolutely. It's so interesting that you're saying that, because one of the industries, because there are a few industries that are thriving in this time, and one of the industries that seem to be at the forefront of expansion are the energy healers, the people who assist people, because they are able to do that from anywhere in the world. And so many of them, and I feel so humbled to be connected to so many of them that are just coming forward and going, I'm going to give, I'm going to give, of my time, of my energy. And even as somebody who works with energy, when I heard you speaking there, it was a reflection of me, because I love being in person with people. You know, there's something that happens there, but this process has also reminded me that when you're working with energy, you're working with energy. There is no space or time. You're working with energy. And so there's a different level of expansion that I'm feeling within myself. And I can see that exactly the same is happening in you when I watched you saying that now. Which is so beautiful, because so many people doubt that. You know, they think, yeah, but if I'm not physically present, how am I going? Is it going to work? Is it going to be as effective? And the reality is that it is. Even a recording of what you have done before, you've already put that into the energy matrix.
Yes. Yes, that presence, that living transmission.
Yes,
that transmission is there. Yeah. And I feel like with the journey, it's both an emotional and an energetic opening that takes place. And I think what's going up today is, because I recorded that a couple of days ago, is something that's called Barriers to Love. And one of the things that I've been hearing from people is that all of us are feeling, here we are in our homes, trapped with our loved ones. And so many people are feeling that even they are one-to-one, as you're saying, in close proximity, isolated and alone in their own homes, and incapable of allowing the love in and incapable of allowing the love out. And Rumi, I started the video by saying a quote from Rumi that Rumi said, that it's not our task to seek love, but rather our task is to seek and barriers within ourselves against love. And what happens when we feel the strong emotions coming up and we shut them down? It creates an internal block inside of our bodies. And then we may feel pent-up love, not able to express it, not be able to let it out. It's like it's locked in there. And the same thing true. We can see our loved one might be wanting to express love to us, but we can't feel it going in. And so it's a very in-depth process. The process itself is 40 minutes long, where we're going inside and finding our blocks to love and going through a process of release and letting go, and then an opening into a consciousness and choosing a consciousness that is not the previous shutdown consciousness, but a consciousness of staying in an open-heartedness. And it's a very powerful, energetically powerful process that I really feel all of us need to undergo during this time, because the truth of the matter is, I feel my experience in the 26 years of giving journey work is that people have fear of feeling fear. Fear comes up, and they have fear of feeling fear. And so the shutdown is involuntary and automatic, and the blocks then start. And so, as Rumi said, seek and find your barriers against love. Clear those out, and then you will be open to love. And you will be able to both express and allow love in and out. And so energetically, I feel this is another call to action, that our world is giving all of us an imperative. As scared as we all are, there's an imperative now that we open our hearts and welcome all of it. All of it. And you know, I had, you may or may not know this, a series of disasters that happened where, you know, in 1992, I had the tumor, and thank God I healed from that. But the next year, in 1993, the big mega fires happened in Malibu, California. And ours was the sole and only cottage that went down on the beach, and our cars exploded, and we lost everything, financially, materially. We just lost everything. Now, the year after that, my husband of 20 years, who I considered to be the great love of my life, fell in love and left me for a younger woman.
Oh.
And I lost my job that same year. And I was in a place that many of us are right now, where I had lost everything that I called my life. There was nothing that I could look to. I'd lost the love of my family life. I'd lost my job. I'd lost the roof over my house. I'd almost lost my life. And I remember when my husband said to me that he'd fallen in love with another woman, he'd actually even spoken to her about marriage. And I was just, you could have knocked me over with a phone.
Yeah.
And I walked out into the living room and I just stood there and I started to shake. And it was this mountain appeared in front of me, this mountain called Brandon, me and my life. And it was like that was the final straw. You know, it was like life had shaken the very foundation of what I believed reality was. And it just started to crumble and turned into so much gravel, turned into dust. And I started to free fall. Abject terror. And every time I tried to reach, I'm not a mother anymore. I'm not a wife anymore. I don't have a job anymore. I don't have a livelihood. I don't have a means of making money. And it's like everywhere I reached, it was turning to dust in my hands. And as I fell into this terror, something just let go. And the whole room was flooded with love. And there was an embrace of love just holding me, carrying me. And I realized that this love had been carrying me through all the times of disaster. And I just marched up the stairs to go into my kitchen. And there was a refrigerator magnet there that a friend had given me of words from Sri Nisargadatta, which, you know, never had touched me before. But the words were, know whatever comes unexpected to be a gift from God. And it will surely serve you if you use it to its fullest. It's only this that you strive for out of your own imagination, your own ego, that gives you trouble. Know whatever comes unexpected to be a gift from God, and it will surely serve you if you use it to its fullest. Now, I had no clue what could be the gift in all this. And all I could do was surrender and trust. And the gift that arose out of it was the journey work. My calling birthed itself out of this time where I had nothing. And then more and more journey work over the last 26 years, it's evolved and birthed fresh work and new work and in different areas of life and on and on. And it all came out of this time where I had nothing, as many people do right at this time, where their jobs are on the line, they've been furloughed or even laid off. They have nothing. But if you surrender and use this time, there is a divine potential inside all of us, which will give rise to maybe a new way of living your life, a new direction that your life is going to take, a new unexpected creativity that can emerge when you surrender to what can't be changed. In this moment, this can't be changed. In this moment, I can't change that I am in lockdown and that my entire livelihood has, and I have many employees, there's no money coming. I can't change that, right now. But all I can do is use this time. And one of the ways I'm using it is to reach out to people and give them this life transforming, liberating work, this profoundly healing work, so that they can use this time wisely and well. It can be a time of incubation for all of us, where new ways forward. I don't think humanity is actually going to go back to the way it was. I think I feel that we're going to be emerging like from the chrysalis of a cocoon, into a new way of living life. And I'm excited about that. I too am totally in the unknown, and I don't know where and how this is where it's going to take us, but I'm willing to rest in the mystery and trust that this that comes unexpected is indeed a gift from God.
It's whenever I hear you talk, I can't believe the parallels in our life. I always speak about before I got sick as my past life, and this is my new life, because like you, I got to the point where, and there's a question that has come through as well, just saying like, what do you do when people are resistant because they're like, no, I'm this title, this is what defines me, and them battling to come to an openness to figure out what's next. And I remember going through that as well, like you were saying, like I became my worst fear when I was sick. My marriage had ended. I was dying. I didn't know what I was dying of. I couldn't function or work, so I wasn't of any value anymore. And so I was a failure, which was my worst fear. And all of those titles that sat underneath my name in my email address just disappeared, because I wasn't functioning as them. And my titles that I had, that I was a wife, that I was somebody to someone, all of that just disappeared. All of these things just disappeared. And I remember, like you're saying, suddenly this opportunity being born in me. And I spoke briefly about my surrender. I'm not going to go into the long version of it, but that possibility when one is stripped of everything that created them before, that defined them before, the possibility of birthing into something more powerful, more profound, more deep, that has more depth and breadth and value, because it's like the phoenix, really, like you said, everything crumbles, and there's this opportunity for everyone right now to go inward and use this time. Go and jump on Brandon's platform. I'll absolutely share the link, and come in, and to all of these lectures, there's free classes. People are allowing this information to be free for you to really invest in yourself, to figure out what it is. Who are you really inside? What is it that you really are, and what that will mean for the rest of your life? Because you can be of so much more value if you figure that out. And I can see that that's when you figured that out. And it's what I've been figuring out. And I'm the eternal student, constantly figuring out and trying to deepen and widen. But I feel like and I've said this before, it's like the universe said, you're not listening, Susanna. So I'm going to stop you in your tracks so that you come back to yourself. Yes, so that you come to your inner self and you pay attention. And it's like that happened to you as well, Brandon. I'm sure it's happened to so many people that have been listening today and that will listen. And it's like the universe is now going in a big way. Okay, guys, none of you are listening. So mass shutdown. And I think I'm also, Brandon, like you, I have moments of actual euphoria, which was making me feel guilty at one point, but because I do believe that this is happening for the it's a gift that is happening not only for the entire humanity, but for our earth as well. I see our earth healing in such a profound way.
And
I
so
see, and so fast, so fast, for the first time in 60 years, swans and, we're seen in the canals, and dolphins in Durban, they've taken down the shark nets, and dolphins are playing in the bay, for the first time in years. All of these things are happening. The Himalayan mountains are being seen from India. There's all of these things. The earth is healing. And I think my greatest invitation is that you take the time to really heal yourself, and go and watch Brandon's work, get involved, do the journey work. It's profound. Is there anything, I know we've gone over time, Brandon, and I so appreciate your time and being willing to have this conversation with me. It's been so valuable to me, and I'm sure to everybody that's watching as well. Is there one final thing that you'd like to say to everyone before you go?
Trust. Trust yourself. Trust life. There will be a gift in this if you use it well, and use this time as sacred time for you and your loved ones. And then see how we all emerge here, and open to all possibilities of the way you will emerge from this time in lockdown. And so I just pray people surrender, trust, love themselves and each other, and cherish this time. There will be a time in history where we look back and we'll go, wow, that was time I used well, or wow, I wasted that special time. And it's up to us. How are we going to use this time that life has given us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Brandon, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, your love, your energy, your blessings. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And may you continue, may this reach thousands and thousands of people, and may they feel uplifted, inspired to carry on in their own lives, healing and liberating their lives. And a heartfelt namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch again very soon, I'm sure. But light and blessings on your way.
Thank you.
For everybody that's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. This has just been a dream come true for me to have Brandon with us today on Thrive. She is just one of the most remarkable women that I know, and I have been really blessed to use what I learned, just what I remembered all those years ago in the journey, just that one thought. And think about that, guys. If it just takes one thought, one positive little thing that you use much later to completely transform your life, to completely heal your life, what a blessing. This time we have is so precious. What we do today, what we do now, will define what we will become tomorrow. The only thing that you are in control of is deciding who you will be now in this moment today. And so I honor you for watching this. I honor you for tuning in. I honor you for taking the time to invest in yourself, to grow, to heal, to flourish, to thrive. I would love you to be a part of my Thrive Network if you are not yet. There's so many benefits. I will be connecting you to teachers from around the world, as I have been doing from Monday to Friday, but I will also be bringing you special offers from these amazing people, giving you free things from these amazing people and from myself. And so I hope that you will join me, and that you'll join the hundreds that have already joined, because we are all creating a community that assists each other in thriving. I'm also starting a group for Thrive, and I would love you guys to join that group. And I will be posting different things in that group as opposed to the things that I'm posting on normal Facebook, on my normal Facebook page and Instagram. And sending you all love and blessings. See you all soon. Bye for now.